I knew driving in Vietnam was risky, but I didn't think we'd end this story in the hospital. Good morning from Ninh Binh. They call this place Ha Long Bay on land, and I can see why. We're in a homestay on a terrace that overlooks a pool, and then surrounding us are all of these limestone cliffs. It is beautiful, and that's a good thing because we haven't gone out in the past 3 to 4 days. When we were in Bangkok, someone coughed on Alan a couple of times, and I think they might have given him the flu because when we got here, he had a high fever and flu-like symptoms. He basically spent the last 3 days in bed, just taking medication, sleeping, trying to rehydrate. And then yesterday I noticed I wasn't really feeling so hot and I didn't have an appetite, but thankfully that's all that's happened. No fever, I feel good. But we're gonna call it quits on Ninh Binh. We are on a strict schedule because we have flights out on the 20th, and so we want to get to Hanoi, we want to see it. But also, I have loved Vietnam so much that I know that I'm going to come back here. Now, for Ninh Binh, I had researched a list of things to eat in Ninh Binh because all of the videos that you see on YouTube are, the same 5 things that everybody kind of does, and it's beautiful and we want to do them too. But I also wanted to share the traditional food side of Ninh Binh because there are quite a number of things that you can get here that you can't get elsewhere, like goat, burnt rice, snails, vermicelli eel, so many things to eat. So I'm going to take all of that research and I will put it on my website, Bacon is Magic, and I'll put a link in the description below for you. Because if you're coming here, I do think you should go see all of those 5 things. They look amazing, but also don't get trapped in the tourist food here. The really good food here is actually the traditional stuff. But for now, I'm just sticking with this bread because my stomach is still not feeling so hot, and then we're gonna head out to Hanoi. 2 hours, probably longer because we're gonna take it easy. Okay, well, actually, it's been about half an hour. We have 1 hour and 47 minutes left. But I could feel, last night I threw up water and bile because yesterday, I don't know, maybe I was dehydrated, but I wasn't hungry. And then today I could feel that feeling of like burping and being afraid to throw up on the bike because it was so violent. I don't want to fall off the bike. But I actually think Alan might be okay with this because this is the worst drive. It's so hot, it's 36 degrees Celsius, and my feet feel like they're in a frying pan. It's just hot, and I need to wear the mask to prevent my face from burning, but it also feels like I'm suffocating. He was actually saying it would have been better to go through the mountains if we could because there would be some shade and it would be cooler. This is brutal. So it's 2 o'clock right now. I think we'll stay here till 3 at least. It's too hot. On the bright side, driving through here, there aren't a lot of places for air conditioning. Most places just have open air and fans. And so when I saw this, I was like, stop! And it's actually quite a cute place. The people here are very nice. So we got peach tea. They gave us extra water, a spoon. Just really, really nice. I feel totally comfortable staying here for an hour. And the drinks are, I think, like $1.25 or something like that. So we're just gonna wait. Sometimes you make a decision and it's not the right one. And that's okay, because then you just make another one to hang out in a coffee shop for an hour. Want all my tips, including what didn't make it into videos? Check out my Vietnam guide for what to see, eat, and do, plus crucial tips for renting a motorbike in Vietnam. I don't wanna lose myself again. 이게 We stayed here a little bit longer than we expected. It's 4:30. I think we got here 2:30. 2 hours of just relaxing. We both feel a lot better. They've got really good peach tea. It was very refreshing. And so now 4:30, it's about 2 hours to go, which will get us into Hanoi before the sun sets, which is perfect timing. Tell me what you want from me. Tell me what you want to hear from me. 되게 말해봐. 아직 아물지도 못한 상처 속에 의미를 찾고 있는 날. Wow. It's better than it was. That's all we can ask for. But you can see we're just on this pavement. And so the sun was hitting the pavement and then just punching us in the face. Good morning, guys. I'm at a coffee shop with some tea, some coconut coffee, and a story to tell you. That was crazy, terrifying, and wonderful. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, how can it be wonderful? But I have a story to tell you. If you're Vietnamese, you probably know why this is wonderful. So, driving in Asia, very different from Western driving. The rules, bendable. And unlike in Indonesia, where the cars really give way first to the bikes to go around because they're more agile, in Vietnam, whoever's the biggest goes first. And so as we were driving into Hanoi, it was a very narrow road. There are no sidewalks on the side. It's like there's the road, just a little bit of something, and then there are all of these stores, so automotive, garage, hardware, a lot of things like that. It was rush hour, and as we were coming in, the car beside us was a little bit erratic, and so Alan wanted to get around it because, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of people got cars in Vietnam in the last 15 years, and not everyone really knows how to drive them. And so they were kind of all over the place, not always checking their blind spots, so he wanted to go around, but as he was going around, they started to swerve this way and just bumped him. Now, we weren't going fast because it was rush hour, and also Alan is always a defensive driver. And so he just bumped him enough that the Honda Versa, which is a big car, had both of our backpacks on it. It kind of made it wobble, and there was nowhere for him to go but up onto this tiny little non-existent sidewalk, but also there was a store. So this store sold like aluminum boxes and things like that. I don't really know what you would call it. Not like stoves, but aluminum boxes. He had slowed down long enough that I was actually able to jump off onto the side, but he actually went head first into these boxes. It was pretty scary, but we weren't going fast, but it was also very startling. And so what happens next is actually pretty amazing. I got off the bike, he was still on it, and everyone came rushing over. Like all of the locals, there was a huge crowd around us to help us. They helped him off the bike, took his helmet off, sat him down, gave him water. They asked me if I was okay, but then they quickly realized he's not Vietnamese. So they immediately called young people to come help and translate. So we had a young girl and neighbor come by, and then also a young man come by who said to me, do you need help? What can we do? So after the initial shock, it seemed like Alan was dizzy. His arm hurt, the arm that was closest to going into the store. And also his rib was sore. And so I was immediately worried that maybe he had a broken rib from hitting one of the boxes, or maybe he had a concussion. We didn't know. He's on the ground, and the first thing that comes to his mind is asking the shop owner, I need to pay you for everything that we've broken. And so we quickly dealt with that. That was 1 million dong. And I said to them, I think I need to go get a Grab and take him to the hospital. And they said, okay. They took me just around the corner to a parking lot where they said it was guarded 24/7 to take out the valuables, the electronics, and not to worry, that I could come back whenever and the bike would be safe, to leave my helmets, those would be safe. And so we did that. And as I turned around to call a Grab, I saw that Alan was already on a scooter, and there was a scooter there for me because going on a scooter to the hospital was faster than taking a car. So I jumped on and drove to the hospital. Now the hospital was a teaching hospital, And we, again, don't speak Vietnamese, and so I was ready to get out Google Translate, but one of the men stayed with us. He took us to the emergency room. I told him on Google Translate what the issues were, and he wrote it down for staff. But staff came out, they spoke English. It was a teaching hospital, so there was the doctor, but a lot of very younger residents, interns, who were able to talk to me in English. They poked and prodded. The gentleman who escorted us gave me another piece of paper with his name, his phone number, his address, that if we needed any help when we were ready to leave, he would come and get us. And then we were left at the hospital. But what should have been a very scary thing, I wasn't scared at all. And that was because I realized that people were taking care of us. I was not alone. Alan was sore. He actually wanted to leave. He said he was fine. And I was like, no, we made it this way. We were getting everything tested. And so someone came to help me go to the cashier, and they said, you need to pay in advance for the test. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is this going to cost? It was 1 million dong to get a full body x-ray and to get an ultrasound. We waited maybe at max an hour. They talked to us and updated us the whole time. And then they came back and said that I had to go to the cashier again to bring the receipt that I had the first time. And they gave me, I think, 25,000 dong back because they didn't use the whole amount, the 1,000 dong, which is about 40 US dollars, 45 US dollars. So in the end, to get an ultrasound, to get an x-ray, to get doctor services, to be in the emergency room cost us $40. The doctor came back to us and said, here is your file with all of your x-rays, all of the notes that we took, everything that we know. He has no internal injuries, no concussion. I'm going to give you medication, a prescription, just general preventative care because he is a little bit bruised up, but that's all he is, he's just bruised. I can't tell you how emotional it was. Not to be in the hospital, I'm afraid that there was something wrong, but to have all of these strangers go out of their way to take care of us. While I was in the hospital, one of them emailed me and said, just so you know, if you need any help, just call me, email me, I can come, I will help you, don't worry. And to check in on us, it was really fantastic. And we went back to the hotel. They saw that he had an x-ray folder. Also, we're very concerned for him. And later that night, he did feel better. He was sore, but he felt better. And yeah, we had a very long talk about what was coming next. We decided that we were going to end the motorcycle portion of this trip. Not because we were afraid, but because he needed a couple of days rest, and we only have 2 weeks left in this trip. So we don't want to rush it. We want to see Hanoi. We want to go to Ha Long Bay. We want to really enjoy our last couple weeks here. And I know this is crazy to say, but we are actually planning to come back. We want to come back and do the north. Accidents happen. You know, Alan is a very experienced driver. He's been driving a motorcycle as long as he could drive. And this is not his first accident. I'm just thankful that we were so well taken care of, that it happens in Vietnam. You know, it was only a bump, but you really do need to have experience to know when you get bumped, what do you do? And so I feel very, very lucky. Now, it's early morning. I'm having a cha da, also a coconut coffee, because it's that kind of morning. And we're gonna go back. We're gonna go pick up the bike. And then also because I have the address, the name, the phone number of the man who helped us, we want to go say thank you to him. Because really having people there who we tried to give him a tip, like just to pay for gas, even though it was only around the corner, but he didn't want to take it. Vietnamese, their hospitality and their sincerity, so overwhelming. And that's what I wanted to share. Not that we had an accident in Vietnam, but that people here are just so incredibly amazing. So I'm gonna go get Alan. I hope he feels better. I think he does. And we are going to get a Grab, but then we're gonna go get the bike and take it back to Style Motorbikes. This is the last day of motorbiking Vietnam for now. But we really do want to see the north. It is the most beautiful part of Vietnam. We're not going to miss out.
But it's like 47-degree weather right now. 37, 97 Fahrenheit, like 37 Celsius. I don't know if you can see, but it's not even 8 a.m. and I'm already dripping sweat. So we're just going to go there, drop off the bike, take it easy for the next 2 weeks, and come back to Vietnam when it's cooler. We've heard to come back in October because in October, the weather will be much better and much more comfortable. And so I'm not ending this video series with a hospital visit. There's more to the story. Join my Patreon community for more behind the scenes and exclusive content you won't find elsewhere. You can also find me on Instagram, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. All of these things make my day. Thank you so much for your support.